President Biden at the White House this afternoon defending his decision and decisions in the withdrawal of Afghanistan. Let's bring in former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley. Madam Ambassador, thanks for joining us. Your reaction to the President's speech this afternoon?
It was pretty clear that by the end of that speech that President Biden gave, it was the beginning of the lame duck presidency for Joe Biden. I mean, he has lost the trust and confidence of every member of the military and the military families that I'm proud to be a part of. He's lost the trust and confidence of our allies who are now negotiating without us because they don't know why we're doing what we're doing. He's lost the trust and confidence of the American people. And I think if you look at the fact that the jihadists are celebrating in the streets because America was run out of town. And by the way, they left them with billions of dollars worth of equipment and ammunition as a housewarming present. I mean, you couldn't ask for a more embarrassing, humiliating situation than what we have right now. The world is definitely a more dangerous place. Just because we're out of Afghanistan does not mean this war is over.
Understanding that you would do things differently, and you have a lot of criticism about where we are at this point. I'd like you to put on your advisor hat if you are advising this president. Let's say you're Secretary of State, or let's say you're Vice President Nikki Haley. What do you tell this president now, today, going forward, not looking backwards, about what to do with the current situation?
I would say stop talking about President Trump. Start owning up to what has happened, and the first thing you should do is immediately start connecting with our allies, whether it's Taiwan, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's Israel, whether it's India, Australia, Japan, all of them, and reassure them that we will have their back and that we need them as well. Secondly, we need to make sure that we are going on an anti-terrorist effort across the world, because we are now going to see with this moral victory that the jihadists have, you're going to see a heavy recruitment campaign around the world. You're going to see more lone wolf situations. We need to make sure we're protected. We need to make sure our cybersecurity is strong, because actors like Russia are going to continue to hack us because we show no signs of willing to fight back. We need to watch China, because I think you're going to see China make a move for Bagram Air Force Base. And I think they're also making a move in Afghanistan and trying to use Pakistan to get stronger to go against India. So we've got a lot of issues. The biggest thing he should do is strengthen our allies, strengthen those relationships, modernize our military, and make sure we're prepared for the cyber crimes and the terrorist crimes that are headed our way.
Yeah, it's a big job handling all of that. But another thing that has just popped up again is North Korea and the restarting of the nuclear reactor at Yongbyon. You dealt with North Korea as the ambassador to the United Nations. President Trump obviously had a very different perspective when it came to that. Your thoughts on this development?
You know, we led the charge on 3 different sanctions packages against North Korea that totally neutralized them. What you're seeing Kim do now is basically he senses the weakness of Biden, and so he's going to go ahead and start getting aggressive. His hope is that he's going to get the United Nations to shake. He's going to get other countries around the world to shake, to lift sanctions, to start sending them money. It's the last thing we should do. We should not do that. The next thing Biden needs to do is to stand firm on those sanctions. He needs to make sure he doesn't acknowledge the Taliban as a credible government. He needs to also make sure that he's strong and stays out of the Iran deal. These are all going to be very important issues that he has to face going forward, and he can't show any weakness whatsoever.
You know, we just had this ceremony, the bringing the bodies back at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware, and the President and the First Lady went, as well as the Secretary of Defense, and met with the families there as those bodies were coming in. The ultimate pain would be to lose a son or daughter and have to bury your son or daughter, and you can feel that pain when they talk about it. But I was surprised by how they characterized President Biden, who's known for his empathy, at least in the past, of dealing with this moment. Let's take a listen.
We didn't want to deal with him. We didn't want him anywhere near us.
It didn't go well. He talked a bit more about his own son than he did my son, and that didn't sit well with me.
He would not look us in the eye. There was not an ounce of sympathy looking at his face.
It was his son and about him, and nothing to do with the 13.
First of all, are you surprised about that? And second of all, you've dealt with families who've lost. In 2015, and the Mother Emanuel Church, when you were governor of South Carolina, what did you do there?
I mean, it's heartbreaking, and I'll tell you, it's even closer to home than that. I'm the wife of a combat veteran who deployed to Afghanistan. We held our breath the entire time they were gone because we were scared that we were going to have a knock on our door. And I hurt for those 13 families that got a knock on their door. And I hurt even more that they met with a president that was completely tone deaf. You don't talk about the death of your own son when you're talking about loss of life of a military service man or woman. This is something that is, the whole military family feels this. We're bonded by this. We're heartbroken by this. And the one thing you do is you sympathize with them, you hold them, you hug them, you let them know that the greatness of their family member and how the country is better for them. But I get why he didn't look them in the face. How could he look them in the face when he knew he was the reason that they died? How could he look them in the face when he knew that they didn't close that gate and protect those soldiers? How does he look those families in the face when those poor service men and women who were doing their job had to rely on the Taliban, a jihadist group, for protection? That's why he couldn't look them in the face. That's why all he could do was talk about Bo, was because this is wrong on every level. And we need to wrap our arms around those military families. They didn't deserve this. And those men and women are heroes, and they'll be heroes for life.
Former Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley. Madam Ambassador, we appreciate your time.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.